So in the previous video we had classified the various questions that were asked from agriculture and rural development into 11 blocks. In this video we will be picking up the section of ESI. Now kindly note that ESI plus ARD is asked as a single paper, that is paper 2 in phase 2 of NABARD grade A and grade B examination. This combined paper is worth 100 marks. Fine. So the agenda of this video is that we'll be discussing the previous year questions of ESI. By previous year I mean 2016. Now this examination was held on 12th June 2016. Now this is the syllabus for ESI as mentioned by NABARD in this official notification. Now once we break this down, we are able to break down the syllabus into these blocks, right, into these topics. The topics start from nature of Indian economy, the opening up of Indian economy, inflation, planning, poverty, unemployment, population, agriculture, industry, labor, IMF, World Bank, WTO, regional economic cooperation, social structure, urbanization, migration, gender issues, education, health, SC, ST, OBC issues, positive discrimination, social movements, political system of India, human development and current affairs. So these are 24 topics in all, right? So if we categorize this syllabus, which is kind of a hodgepodge syllabus, into neat categories, we are able to categorize into such 24 neat categories. Now we will not be able to divide the questions or bifurcate the questions or classify the questions into neat blocks here. We will not be able to tell you that from inflation these questions were asked, from Indian planning these questions were asked, because all the questions are memory based. We don't have the complete set of questions that was asked, but what we are doing is that we are collecting the questions. We have collected the questions that are based on memory, and to give you a very fair idea, it will give you a fair idea that how you have to carry out your preparation. Right, so we'll just list down the questions that were asked from the section of ESI. Now one question was that what is the amount of loan that a bank mitra or a banking correspondent, right, can take for tools under the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana. Now under the scheme of Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, all the bank mitras or the banking correspondents can get a loan of a total of 1.25 lakh rupees, which is distributed as 50,000 for tools, 50,000 for vehicles and 25,000 for working. Right, so this is one question. There was another question on Shyam Prasad Mukherjee Rurban Mission. There was a question on the objectives of Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana. There was a question that when is the World Youth Skill Day celebrated. There was a question on Shanta Kumar Committee recommendations. Now Shanta Kumar Committee had given recommendations on restructuring of FCI, Food Corporation of India. Right. Now there was a question on which agency shall review the implementation of social sector programs. Answer was Niti Aayog. There was a question on multidimensional poverty index. Now this index is made by UNDP, United Nations Development Programme, and it forms a part of the Human Development Report every year. Now which of the following is not a method to give up one's LPG subsidy benefit? Now there are 4 methods. You can fill out a form, you can send an SMS, you can apply online, or you can give up your subsidy through the application, Android application. Right. So these are the 4 methods, and there was another option which was not a method to give up LPG subsidy. So you had to identify that option. Now there was a question on Jan Aushadhi scheme. Now there is a topic on health in ESI. So there was a question on Jan Aushadhi scheme. There was a question on Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana, right, for giving LPG connections to BPL population, so BPL women households, so Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana. Now there was a question based on the economic survey, that what is the total expenditure on social services, which includes health, education, etc. during 14-15 as a percentage of GDP. There was a question on Stand Up India scheme, Stand Up India. Then there was a question that what is the new name for Department of Disinvestment. Now the name has been changed to DIPAM, that is Department of Investment and Public Asset Management. There is a question on masala bonds. There is a question on National Skills Qualification Framework, right, National Skill Development Agency and National Skills Qualification Framework. There was one question on Deen Dayal Upadhyay Grameen Kaushalya Yojana and Pradhan Mantri Kaushalya Vikas Yojana for skill development. There was a question on the new minimum wage for contract labourers. It was recently increased to rupees 10,000. So there was a question on that. There was a question on overdraft facility of rupees 5,000 under the priority sector lending. So what happened was that under the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, the Reserve Bank of India said that the overdraft facility of up to rupees 5,000 should be treated or would be treated as PSL, priority sector lending. Now there was a passage on reservation for Divyangs, physically challenged, physically handicapped, because recently the Rights of Persons with Disabilities Bill was passed by the Lok Sabha. Right, so the reservation has been increased from 3% to 4% also. Now there was a question on Mission Indradhanush, not for the banking sector but for the immunization. Again a topic on health for universal immunization. So there were passage based questions also, and there were standalone questions also. So there was one passage based question, sorry, there was one passage based on air hostess being fired from her job. So there was a old news item about Air India and the air hostess being fired because of being overweight. Right, so there was a question on this, 2-3 questions. Then there was a passage on skill development. Right, 2-3 questions based on skill development. Then there was a passage based on good Samaritan, that in case of an accident, what all formalities have to be carried out. You should take the person to the hospital. You don't have to get into legal hurdles. The police will not torture you and all. So there were questions on that. And there was a question. There were 3-4 questions, 2-3 questions on passage based on disabled persons reservation, Divyangs. Right. So these are the questions that were asked in the previous year paper. We don't have the exact questions with us. All these things are memory based, but again, by going through the broad topics, we can get a fair idea. So that is our motive. So what are the takeaways? That the first takeaway, very important takeaway, is that almost nil questions, 0 questions from concepts. Very important takeaway. Right. So what your agenda or what your strategy should be, that you should prepare maximum questions, you should prepare your maximum information and knowledge from the current affairs. That is very important. I'm not saying that you have to ignore your basic concepts, but once you have covered the basic concepts through maybe NCERT and Ramesh Singh, you don't have to then delve very deep into the basic concepts. You don't have to do a PhD. Those basic concepts as given by NCERT and Ramesh Singh selected chapters are enough. You should be able to relate those basic concepts with the current happenings. Right. So you may read in Ramesh Singh chapter that there is something called poverty, there is something called unemployment, but you have to be able to relate these basic concepts with the current ongoing important schemes of poverty alleviation, employment generation and skill development in India. Right, so just reading the basic concepts is not enough. Just reading the current affairs is not enough. You should be able to have an organic linkage between the basic concepts and the current affairs. Right, so you should go through these sources: Yojana, Economics in News, Social Issues in News. A good daily newspaper can be Indian Express, can be The Hindu, anyone will do. Economic survey, the budget, the government schemes, etc. Again, you have to cover the current affairs for the previous 1 year and not for the previous 6 months alone. We have seen in ARD as well that questions were asked based on the current affairs from the previous 1 year and not just from the previous 3 to 6 months. If you have any query, you can drop us a mail on these email IDs. Our website name is edutap.co.in. Our NABARD course is available there. And this is our YouTube channel by the name of EduTap. Our videos for RBI as well as NABARD are available on this channel. Thank you so much.